Welcome back. I'm Matt Gilmore. Hey, have you ever asked ChatGPT about a health problem? If you have, you're not alone. More and more people are turning to AI chatbots to help self-diagnose medical issues, and doctors are saying that that brings some serious risks. We have a doctor standing by. His name is Dr. Chris Labos. You've probably heard of him before, cardiologist with a degree in epidemiology. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
So, Dr. Labos, when you hear about this trend to turning to Dr. AI, if you will, what's your first reaction? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's basically Dr. Google by another name, right? You're sort of replacing or, updating the technology and how you're gathering the information, but you're basically doing the same thing. You're getting what's essentially unfiltered information from the internet without the proper context, without the proper expertise. So whether you're using Google search engine or using an AI to do it, you're still just getting a summary of what's freely available on the internet. And the problem with medical advice is that the good stuff isn't free and the free stuff isn't good.
Do you have a sense of why it is you think people do this, turn to Google or WebMD and now to ChatGPT?
I think it's easy. I think a lot of people have trouble accessing the healthcare system, a problem that has gotten worse over the past 10 years. And people have questions. And if you can't get a family doctor, if you don't have a family doctor, if you can't spend time with your family doctor because they say you get to ask one question and the appointment lasts 5 minutes. So like if you don't have the ability to voice your concerns, you have to go looking for the answer somewhere. And, a generation ago, it would have been go to the library and read a book. And now it's go online and search for stuff. And so you're really just seeing the natural evolution of that search technology.
Do you think that there is something maybe a little bit riskier when it comes to AI? Because there is a sense that it is able to do so much. And when you Google a health, an ailment or something that you may be dealing with, it could take you to an official looking website, something like the Mayo Clinic or a .org site that has legitimate information. And you can see that versus something that sort of looks like a sketchier website. Whereas ChatGPT or these other AI chatbots, it all kind of looks clean and uniform and you're not really 100% sure where it's coming from. Is there an added risk in that sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the AIs, not all of them, but some of them hallucinate, right? They make up references. Now, that is maybe something that's going to get fixed with time, but there is the very real potential that they could just lie to you. And it's not that they're lying. I mean, the term hallucinating is an interesting one. They're basically making up what they think should exist because that's what an AI is really doing. It's scouring the internet, it's collecting data, and it's making a best prediction of what it thinks the next word in the text should be. And that really does sometimes result in them making up references that don't exist. So to think that AI is accurate and that it is perfect would be a mistake. It is prone to not the same mistakes that you can make on the internet, but almost a completely different type of mistake.
Is there any kind of use for AI when it comes to health? I mean, we hear almost every week about a new AI-powered technology that's going to help diagnose a rare cancer or this or the other thing. So, is there... I guess that's AI used in the hands of medical professionals, and that's the difference?
Well, here's the thing. AI is a tool like any other. You can use it well or you can use it badly. There's a lot of stuff that AI is doing already in terms of medical dictation, about generating notes, generating reports, right? Doing a lot of the stuff that is just monotonous and really doesn't, frankly, require a medical degree, right? It's really just transcription. So it's actually already doing that stuff. And if we're going to be incorporating it into our software, I mean, this kind of already exists, right? There's already AI incorporated into Word, Excel, all the Microsoft products. It's already there on the internet in terms of our search engines. So, I think AI is going to end up being a lot more banal than people realize. It's going to end up being like, oh, okay, it's made my program slightly more efficient. Rather than typing things out, now it knows what I want to say, and it doesn't make me type out every single word of my query. So in that respect, I think it is going to be a time saver. It's going to make things a little bit more efficient. But a lot of the things that people say about it replacing doctors and diagnosing you, it's obviously not going to do that because it will never have, well, at least in the short term, it's never going to have the subtlety and sophistication that people want, which is to ask questions in a weird, imprecise way and for the other person to understand what you meant. Because the problem with AI, it's taking everything you say very, very literally. It's not going to grasp some of the nuances of human behavior.
Speaking with Dr. Chris Labos about the use of AI for self-diagnoses, a lot of patients turning to AI because it is quite hard to sometimes get an appointment with a medical professional in this system. I do want to ask you about, you mentioned doctors using AI tools for transcriptions and note-taking and stuff, but, we've seen with other professions, sometimes quite embarrassingly with lawyers early on in the ChatGPT era, where they were turning to ChatGPT to sort of write briefs or whatever. Is that something that sometimes happens in the medical field as well? Is there a temptation by doctors to maybe turn to ChatGPT for a quick research tool?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I've seen people use it in terms of writing their notes. And I will say it's pretty good. I had one sales representative, he was from a company, said, "Can I show it to you?" And I said, "All right." So we had a conversation. And then I waited to see it wasn't ChatGPT, it was a different AI, but I waited to see what did the AI do. And you know what? Its transcription was not bad. It wasn't good enough for my standards, and I can type pretty quickly, so I can pretty much just keep typing as patients are talking and generate a note according to, how I want it. So it wasn't really for me. But it's not bad, and you can easily see how a hospital administrator, rather than hiring people to be medical transcriptionists, which is a job, there are people that now follow around doctors and write down everything that happens into the medical record. So you can easily see how a hospital system would find AI a considerable cost savings and think, hey, this is a great thing, because it is still pretty good. The issue is always going to be who's signing off on it, like who's checking it, because there's always going to be the medical legal implications. Whenever people talk about AI, like reading mammograms or reading x-rays or doing diagnostic tests, you are still going to need a human being to look over what the AI did. And so in that respect, it may not be that much of a cost saving in the long run. It may be a little bit, but because there always has to be somebody to blame if things go wrong, a human being is always going to have to look over the AI's work, because if you didn't, who would be responsible if the AI missed a cancer? Was it the company that developed it? Was it the hospital that bought the program? Was it the physician that allowed the AI to read the report for them? Who would bear the liability? And that we don't have an answer to that, because this is new legal territory.
Just wrapping up here with Dr. Chris Labos. Before we finish, I want to ask you about mental health care, maybe a little outside your domain. But is it worrying, perhaps, to see some of these reports about, inconsistent answers about suicidal tendencies, where people are asking questions about their own mental health, and we've seen some pretty high profile stories about the chatbots kind of encouraging to some extent, going down those dark paths and not providing that kind of, reassuring or directing people to medical professionals. Should there be more sort of built-in kind of directing people whenever there's medical questions being asked to healthcare professionals?
Oh yeah, I have very serious reservations about chat boxes offering therapy. Like, that's really problematic. And again, it gets down to the medical legal issue. If they say something inappropriate, who's to blame, right? You can't sue an algorithm. So, and again, listen, the advent of technology has made virtual care very convenient. Doing Zoom sessions for therapy, maybe not quite as good as being there in person, but still a lot more convenient, especially for people who work or live far away. So you can always use the internet for therapy, but you're always speaking to a person. I think the very real worry is that there may not be a person answering that question. It may be an AI, and that is new medical territory, new legal territory. And I think we don't really know how this is going to play out in the long term. I think ultimately it's going to play out rather negatively, and I wouldn't be surprised if, in the next little bit, you start seeing legislation about that sort of thing because of the legal liability issues.
All right. Dr. Chris Labos, thank you.
My pleasure. You take care.
iHeartRadio is throwing it back.
2010s, the decade.
To the days of huge hits and unforgettable anthems. A non-stop stream of the biggest and best.
Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce, Katy, Gaga, The Weeknd,
and more. All your decade-defining favorites, all in one place.
Hi, it's Katy Perry.
Hey, it's Bruno Mars.
This is Kesha.
Find 2010's The Decade on the free iHeartRadio app. Preset the station so it's always one tap away.